Welcome to Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation's webcast on housing options for people living with dementia, modifications for private homes. For most Canadians, home is the place where we feel welcome, safe, and secure. This is especially important for people who are living with dementia. Dementia refers to a variety of neurological conditions that cause the loss of mental functions over time. According to the Alzheimer's Society of Canada, 1 in 13 people over the age of 65 and 1 in 3 over the age of 85 will experience at least some form of dementia. As Canada's population continues to age over the next 20 years, the number of people diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia is expected to double in number. Assisting people with dementia to remain as safe and independent as possible in their home or community poses unique challenges to their housing, health, and support needs. Thankfully, there are a number of relatively simple changes that can be made to almost any home to make them safer, more comfortable, and more familiar for anyone who is living with dementia, and to assist their families, friends, and caregivers in meeting their daily needs. CMHC's Guide to Housing Options for People Living with Dementia offers simple and practical advice on home adaptations, renovations, and design suggestions to help people living with dementia and their caregivers or housing providers create a living environment that increases safety, security, and a sense of belonging, maximizes abilities and focuses on strengths, and encourages independence and involvement in life. For people living in private homes, the guide uses a straightforward, room-by-room approach to suggest a range of design elements, adaptations, and modifications that can help people living with dementia become safer, more independent, and more comfortable. The physical environment plays a big role in the quality of life of people with dementia. An environment that is familiar, home-like, and easy to understand can help reduce feelings of agitation, aggression, depression, and social withdrawal. When adapting a private house to meet the needs of someone with dementia, a person-centered approach that takes their individual tastes and requirements into account can dramatically improve their quality of life and help them adapt more easily to changes in their home. If possible, the person living with dementia should also be included in deciding which home modifications to undertake to lessen the chances for confusion or irritation. One of the most important adaptations for people living with dementia is to maximize the amount of natural and artificial light in the home. Good lighting is especially essential in areas where people spend a lot of time or carry out complex tasks, such as reading, cooking, or eating. To increase the amount of indoor light in a home, try to extend curtain rails beyond the windows to let in as much natural light as possible. Remove any indoor furniture or objects or outdoor landscaping that might block the windows and keep light out. Avoid hanging lace curtains, as these can cause shadows or misperceptions. Use a variety of different types of lighting, including overhead lights, natural light, and task lighting. Use colored light switch plates to contrast light switches with the wall around them, so they'll be easier to find and identify. And replace any burned-out light bulbs as soon as possible. Another area of the home where a few small changes can make a big difference is in the doors and doorways. Clearly visible and easy-to-use doors are critical for helping people with dementia to find their way safely and easily around their home. Some other tips to make doors easier for seniors or someone with dementia to use include: paint doors in a different color than the surrounding walls, so they'll be easier for someone living with dementia to find and use. Doors should also open fully so that the interior of the room is clearly visible from the hallway. Avoid sliding doors, as people living with dementia can find them hard to use. If possible, rehang bathroom doors to open outward to allow for easier access in case someone falls against the door from the inside. Plus, use signs placed at eye height to identify the doors to key rooms, such as the bathroom or kitchen. Signs like "Stop," written in big, bold letters, can also be used for doors that are not meant to be accessed. When using signs to help someone with dementia find their way around a home, make sure the signs are consistent in style and colored to contrast with the door or wall, mounted no higher than 1.2 meters from the floor, written with capital and lowercase letters, and perhaps a graphic, photograph, or directional signage if a location isn't obvious, and made using a visible contrast between the words and the background, such as light lettering on a dark background. The flooring in the home should also be as consistent as possible, as changes in color, tone, or patterns could be misinterpreted as steps and increase the risk of falling. In addition, wherever possible, try to avoid shiny floors as they can cause glare or be confusing or slippery. Install low-pile carpeting to help cushion floors in case of falls. Remove threshold strips and doormats as they can cause people to stop or falter. Avoid linoleum, carpet, or vinyl flooring that has large specks or sparkles, as people with dementia may attempt to pick up the specks. And if there are different flooring types adjacent to each other, make sure they have light-reflecting values that are as similar as possible. Stairs can be one of the most dangerous areas of a home for seniors and people living with dementia. To make stairs safer and easier to navigate, install solid, reinforced handrails on both sides of all stairways. Outline the edges of all steps with brightly colored paint or tape. Install rubber treads or non-skid adhesive strips on uncarpeted stairs. And avoid strong tonal changes in the flooring at or near the top and bottom of the stairs, as a change in tone could be perceived as a whole and lead to fear or confusion. In fact, handrails are one of the easiest and most common modifications that can be made around the home. To assist both people living with dementia and their caregivers, all handrails should be easily graspable, with rounded ends, a non-slip surface, and a diameter of around 4 centimeters. Handrails should also be secured firmly to the wall to allow for a firm grip and to support the weight of anyone using them. Plus, be sure to install a knob, inward turn, or other feature at each end of the rail to indicate where the handrail stops. For many families, the kitchen is the heart of the home and an essential part of a healthy, active, and engaged lifestyle. It is also one of the most difficult rooms to adapt for people living with dementia. When modifying a kitchen for someone with dementia, choose traditional or familiar-looking equipment and appliances. Make sure the utensils and equipment the person uses most often are visible and easily reachable. Install heat and smoke sensors that can automatically shut off the stove, oven, or other hazardous appliances. Maximize the amount of light by installing strip lighting above kitchen surfaces and adding spotlights for work areas. Avoid speckled surfaces that could be mistaken for crumbs or bugs. Minimize noise levels by using sound-absorbent surfaces where appropriate. And try to make sure the stove and countertops are at an even level, as it may be difficult for someone with dementia to judge differences in height. After kitchens, bathrooms are the most difficult room for people with dementia to interpret, since the design of bathrooms and their fittings has changed so much. When adapting the bathroom, try to choose fittings that look as traditional and are as easy to operate as possible. Other changes or features that can make the bathroom safer for someone living with dementia include using contrasting colors to visibly separate the toilet seat from the bowl and the floor, installing non-slip flooring, and avoiding threshold strips or making sure they blend in with the adjacent hall or bedroom flooring. Adding handrails in a color that contrasts with the walls and floor. maximizing natural light and positioning overhead lights where they will minimize shadows and won't shine in anyone's eyes. Installing a handheld shower head so the person with dementia can see where the water is coming from and have some control over it. And purchasing a freestanding shower seat if needed, and making sure the entry to the shower is barrier-free. Bedrooms should be quiet and look as familiar as possible. They also need to have a lot of light. When choosing furniture, look for wardrobes with clear, open, or glazed doors that make it possible to see what's inside. Placing signs on drawers can also be helpful to identify what each drawer contains. To enhance safety and minimize confusion in the dining room, use the same or similar flooring throughout the room. Choose traditional furniture that contrasts visually with the floor, and use signs to label furniture like the sideboard or buffet to indicate what they're used for. Make sure there's plenty of natural and artificial light to promote a positive mood and encourage eating. If new tableware is required, make sure it contrasts with the table, and don't choose designs with distracting or childish patterns. And consider buying plates, bowls, and cutlery that have been modified to assist those with physical disabilities, like large-handled cutlery for people who have difficulty grasping. For the living area, choose traditional furniture and fittings that contrast with the floor and give strong cues to the purpose of the room. Maximize natural and artificial light levels and make sure there are no curtains, trees, or shrubs blocking the windows. Give the room a focus point other than a TV, like a traditional-looking fireplace with a mantelpiece. Consider changing or adding cushions to make the furniture more visible. And use a cover or cupboard to cover the television when it's switched off, as TVs can alarm people with dementia by showing a reflection of their faces. For people living with dementia, outdoor spaces can be just as important as the indoors. For instance, many people with dementia spend a lot of time looking out the window. So try to make sure there's something pleasant and attractive for them to look at, like a view of the garden or an area where something is happening. Spending time in the outdoors can also be important for both health and overall quality of life. To maximize opportunities for getting outside, make sure the access to the outdoors is level and barrier-free, and provide ramps where they're needed. Place a comfortable chair or sitting area outdoors in a spot that's clearly visible from the door or windows. Take advantage of terraces, patios, or balconies as halfway outdoor areas that still feel safe and protective. And come up with things to do in the yard or garden as a way of encouraging people to go outside. Dementia is a serious condition both for those who live with it as well as for their families, loved ones, and caregivers. But with some forethought and a few modifications, any house can be designed, renovated, or adapted to help someone living with dementia remain comfortable, safe, independent, and in their own home for as long as possible. For more information about the housing options for people living with dementia guide, or for a full list of other resources that are available to assist both housing providers and caregivers in designing, renovating, or adapting a home to meet the needs of people living with dementia, visit the CMHC website at cmhc.ca/accessible housing.